Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So, short and sweet and to the point. String Butler version 3. From what I can tell, the forks are a little bit longer over the version 2. Otherwise, I can't really tell the difference. I haven't seen a version 2 in my hand. So, I originally ordered a version 2, but they didn't have any more, and I guess they're producing version 3s now. I have no idea the story behind it, but anyways, I got a version 3. Cost me like $1 more. It's like, ooh, I don't know. I think that's going to break the bank, man. Anyway, so cost me 69 bucks Canadian for this in gold. There is a little bit of a price difference between silver, black, and gold, and they have a new transparent one out now too, which is kind of really neat looking. However, I wanted gold to go along with all the rest of the gold mods I've been doing to my Les Paul studio. So anyways, I've watched a lot of videos ever since I've heard of the String Butler, and I've been kind of keeping track of everybody, kind of seeing what they had to say about it. Does it really work? Is it worth the money? Blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, you know, there's a lot of gimmicks out there in the market. We all know that. Even, I mean, look at Gibson. They put out robo-tuners. Their first version really sucked. You could not even turn the keys manually. If you did, you'd snap them. Now they have a new version out that apparently now you can actually turn the keys manually if you need to in order to change your strings without so much frustration. I still think the robo-tuner is a piece of garbage though, because if that battery for any reason gives out when you're on stage, you're screwed, especially with version 1. Version 2, at least you could retune, but the whole idea behind the robo-tuner is to keep you in tune. So I don't know how good the battery is that they put in that thing, but I think it's kind of ridiculous of an invention that really it's just nothing more than a Band-Aid that adds bulk and weight to your guitar and looks god-awful ugly, you know? That's the thing. And, of course, they've tried different nuts, you know, brass nuts, titanium nuts, that sort of stuff. And, of course, you know, I mean, they know. Come on, they're not that stupid, all right? They know that their design has always sucked, because they have too much back rake on the headstocks, which leads to your headstock breakage. But that'll happen in any 3-in-3 headstock guitar, not just Gibson. So I'm not knocking Gibson alone. I'm knocking everybody with a 3-in-3 that is got a steep back rake. Now, Epiphone uses a less of a back rake, so you do get a little bit more tuning stability, which is good. But you still have that issue where you can snap the headstock really easy, which, like I said already, about that sort of thing. Now, I seen a Chinese copy of a Les Paul and an SG that had like a 7-degree back rake, and it's like, wow, that's a lot better than like 17 and 19. Yeah, you know, PRS kind of nailed it, even with their copies of their guitars, where they shrunk everything in more, right? So now it's a lot straighter. You got really good tuning stability, right? So you wouldn't likely need a String Butler on a PRS guitar. You probably wouldn't need it on a lot of other guitars out there either that are more properly designed. But, of course, you do have Gibson as being the iconic-looking machine, and I can understand them wanting to keep the iconic looks, but, you know, they could narrow things down a little bit different, maybe change a few things to make it a little better that way. However, the String Butler, I think, is probably the best cure out on the market for guitars like the Les Paul, the SG, and so forth that have issues, right? I've had non-Gibson and non-Epiphone guitars that are electrics with 3-in-3s in the past, and, you know, they're not really much better, right? They could benefit from a String Butler as well. And the String Butler keeps the strings in alignment. It has roller bearings for where you set your string into. So especially if you have a whammy bar, you know, because a lot of guys are going like with Bigsby's and other things now on their Les Pauls and whatnot. And it allows the movement of the string so it's not bound up or pinched, right? So that was actually a really good idea with this thing. So it has like a roller bearing system. The design in itself is actually quite cool looking. You know, I think this would look really even awesome on a Flying V, because you know how the Flying V, you know, you got your V shape this way and everything points and the V's this way, so it's still going that way. Look really awesome. I had a Flying V once, and I kind of really wouldn't mind another one again someday, but I don't know. We'll see. For keeping your guitar in tune when it's on a stand, I haven't tried that because I have a nitrocellulose finish on this, and unless I get a friendly stand for it, it's not good for the finish. However, I hang my guitars up, and so it does help a guitar stay in tune better just hanging on the wall than it does in a stand, because in the stand you got all the weight going this way against the neck and everything. But either way, I have noticed a huge difference in tuning stability even being hung on the wall since I put the string butler on. It's way better. I actually pulled it off the wall this morning, checked my tuning, and I only had one string that was out just a smidge, and I was like, wow, you know. Normally with the Les Paul, I could, tune it up, put it on the rack, 3 hours later come back in here and play, and I got to retune, With the string butler, no more. And even when playing, I can do some, good string bendings, and it's staying in tune really, really well. So if you were looking at a Les Paul before a string butler, let's say you might have gotten, 4 songs before things started going where you would notice. Well, now you can probably get 20 or 30 songs before anything's going to happen. So it is a really huge increase in performance of your guitar's tuning stability. I think even playing wise, it feels a little bit better too. Hard to really judge that one. Now I have switched up to 10 gauge strings on the Les Paul as well. From the factory, mine came with 946s, and I threw on 942s, and I found they were a little bit too much on the light side, but the 10s are really doing a nice job. And my SG came with 10s from the factory, and I really like the 10s on it, but I'll never go any more than 942s on my Telecaster or my Strat, just because they actually function the best with those, in my opinion. And besides, I bend the crap out of the strings on those things, and they still stay in tune just because they're different design factor, right? But I think that with this, the string butler is just awesome. It's worth the money. Some people kind of like $70. Like, really? Like, for a little piece of metal? Yeah, but there's a lot of thought and engineering in this little piece of metal, kids. Okay? The guy who developed this really, really knows his stuff. And if you are looking at something that is going to really help you, that's going to be, in my opinion, the most inexpensive, most practical, and it adds some cool looks to your guitar. The string butler definitely is there. So it's an all-around thing where, it actually looks cool. It actually properly functions the way it should. It's very simple and easy to install. I actually have a video on how to install a string butler and how to properly oil your fretboard. So check out that video if you've got time. If you want to skip ahead to the string butler, it's near the end of that video. It was a bit of a lengthy video, but I like to be very detailed and stuff, and giving you guys like the whole process as best as I can anyways, without keeping you here for 3 hours, you know what I mean? But I have to agree with everybody else that I've watched a video on that has definitely said this thing actually works. It really does, because that was a big concern, because when I was at Mcquade, where I ordered this from in North Bay, I was telling the manager there, I says, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to buy another one. But if it does work, I'm definitely getting one for the SG. And I noticed really awesome results even within the first 2 days, And so I've let it go a little bit longer just to see if I'm, like hearing things or seeing things wrong or whatever, you never know. And it actually does work. I took the guitar off the rack this morning. I was playing it last night. Didn't even bother to retune it. Just threw it up on the rack. Took it off this morning. I had like a little tiny bit out on my A string, and I think my G was just a smidge out. Everything else was like pretty much as close as you're going to get it to perfect. So I would say get one, man. I mean, if you've got tuning stability issues on a 3-3 headstock, whether it's an electric guitar or even an acoustic would benefit, then I would definitely say invest in one. It's definitely worth the money. And like I said, it doesn't just look cool, it actually works. And this actually is the proper placement for installation. I looked at a lot of stuff online of pictures, how it was installed on guitars. I've watched a lot of videos. And this is actually the proper placement for it and in this direction. Otherwise, what happens is you can cover your truss rod, but what happens is, or your truss rod cover, sorry, if you flipped it the other way, you're going to actually arc that plate up because of the thickness of your truss rod cover. So this actually is the proper way to put this thing in. I seen a guy put it up on the middle pegs, and I'm not the first one, but many of us got on him for that because it looked really ridiculous. Okay, it just looked stupid. The pinch arc was so severe between the A and the B, it was just insane. And it's like, and it didn't look much better up here either. This actually looks a little bit nicer going this way with it. So this would be your proper placement. Now, one question I want to answer, and then we're out of here. Will it affect your intonation? Yes, you will need to re-intonate your guitar after your strings have been broken in. I would probably say, you know, even though you do the stretching crap and you retune it a few times, give it about 2 days, no more than that, and don't play it a lot for that 2 days. Just let the strings seat in. And let your neck reset too, because when you take all the strings off, your neck goes whack, and so you got to pull the arc back up. So, you know, you've got to keep in mind that. And so make sure you tune it a couple of times after, say, 2 days. Tune it a couple times, play the snot out of it a bit. Yeah, your intonation will be out just a bit, but it's okay. Give that little bit of final stretch to the strings, tune her up, and then go take her onto the bench and reset your intonation. And you won't have to do much, just like a couple of little minor tweaks, and then you're like perfect. So no big deal. And in fact, the only two strings you won't likely have to touch are going to be your low E and your high E, because they're not part of the string butler. It's going to affect your A, your B, D, and G, right? Because you're changing string length with this thing. You know, with the angles and stuff, it actually does change your string length too. So keep that in mind, and string length affects intonation. So you're going to have at least 4 saddles that are going to have to be tweaked just a little tiny bit. But that's part of the thing. But once it's done, you're done, you know, and it's great. Now, as far as these 2 holes, they're actually for permanently affixing it in. I didn't do that because I don't want to. I find that the tuner nuts and washers are more than enough, plus the pressure of the strings, more than enough to keep that thing in place. Even when you change your strings, these are not going to move. So, you know, that's fine. Anyways, that's it. That's all. Hey, 4 3/4 out of 5 for those who like your star ratings. You know, if you're in Canada, hey, Long Mcquade carries these things. You order them online, go into your nearest store, whichever. If you're not in Canada, well, hey, wherever you can find these things on the internet. And like I said, this is the new version 3. The only difference I really see is a little bit longer forks for more adjustability left and right. Otherwise, I can't really see any difference because I haven't had a version 2 in my hands. So, but either way, it's a great invention. It actually does work and works great. Anyways, that's it. See ya. Thanks for watching.